Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun. Good morning, everybody. 28th of June, last week in June. Can you believe that it is the last week in June already, guys? Summer's already a third over. But yeah, and we're going to have non-farms payroll this Friday, which it seems like that just happened. I can still remember it, but you know what, whatever. Probably going to be a dull week because of the non-farms payroll, but we do have a bunch of Fed speakers still, so that might keep things a little spicy. We come over and see how things have gone. ES. So Friday was pretty good on ES. I mean, when you look at it in relative, like how far it went, it was a decently sized up day, breaking up into new highs. We are just below 4,300, which, by the way, was Goldman Sachs year-end target. So they've been really good with these targets lately. I have to say, since the pandemic, they said like it went down to almost exactly where they said it was going to go. Yeah, they got pretty good. But here again, it's like, okay, but like, what's next? The market, I think, is kind of sitting here going, what's next? And is just worried about the interest rates over here. Because if the interest rates were to increase substantially, well, I think they were saying that, their target was 1.8. We're like below 1.5 right now. And if we were to get to 2.5, that would bring their year-end forecast for the S&P 500 down to 3,300. So market's still going to be watching the interest rates carefully. On Friday, we had a pretty good move down in the interest rates. Okay, so keep an eye on that. It's reverted a little bit so far. We're getting a little bit of flattening here, but overall, the yield curve has gotten a little bit steeper. So that's good because, back in here, like it really flattened right after that non-farms, and then going into here was the Federal Reserve meeting. Okay. I would personally, because I have banks, I would like to see that yield curve steeper, but I digress. Oil a little bit firmer, but we got OPEC this week, so we'll see there. And then gold and silver still just like, look at this. So I was looking at some information, like what was the market positioning, and that definitely switched in gold. I mean, like it was just kind of getting its feet underneath of it, and then badoosh, it just really killed the momentum. But we've been in this flag for quite some time. So the models actually suggest that they're a little bit too short and that we might see a little bit of mean reversion in gold. All right. So gold, silver, copper down just a little bit, the base metals, but probably nothing too big. It's just kind of the dollar getting a little bit stronger overnight. And so that's the biggest mover, or rather biggest factor in that right now. That's where we are in the dollar, but the dollar is swinging back hard at the moment. So we'd keep an eye on here. It looks like the 6J, as that happened, taking a pretty good dive, and then but the Treasury is moving up. So interesting. So the way that the Treasuries react to the dollar is really interesting to me, and I have a hard time sorting out sometimes which one it's going to do, because there are times when the 6J will move and the Treasuries just go like that down move. That would normally be the kind of thing that would cause the Treasuries to move down, but they didn't. But, when that happens, when the dollar is moving or the 6J is moving, you'll see the treasuries move on like very little volume. It just goes. And those can be like some of the most frustrating trades if you're trying to read the order flow. You don't understand that the correlation at that moment is more important. Good morning, Win. What she say? Hope you had a good weekend. Good morning, Ant. Thank you very much. Was where? Who cares? It's early. It's gonna be. I have to warn you guys. It's probably gonna be another really tight week. Like that. It doesn't take much to upset that balance. Don't get me wrong. It doesn't take much to upset that balance. But given that there's a non-farms payroll, let's come and look at what we got news for the week. Okay. Which correlation? I'm talking about the correlation between the treasuries and the dollar and the Japanese yen in particular. Right. So if the Japanese yen is making a strong move, the treasuries will tend to move in tandem with it. And when that happens, your order flow readings are almost useless because it will trade up or down on like no volume. It'll just tick. They'll trade enough contracts to make it tick, and that's it. Because it's like an arbitrage robot just puts it out, and it's willing to put out as many contracts as is necessary to hold the correlation that it thinks is supposed to be there, and nobody tries to fight it. So yeah, it can be. I tell you what, some of the most frustrating trades being on the losing side of that thing. Okay, this week. See, so today, Monday, we got FOMC member Williams speaks at the top of the hour, but then after that, it is just like nothing. It is just really okay. Tuesday, well, consumer confidence, that's an important number, and Chicago PMI is an important number. So Wednesday could be important, and then we get unemployment claims, ISM manufacturing, and non-farms. Okay, so this week isn't too bad. I mean, there is stuff Wednesday, Thursday, and Tuesday that there's news, but it's not like super important news. But Monday is just a really really empty day. Oh, now you see that they turned down really hard there in the Treasury, and what do you know? The 6J was moving down. What happened? What's the mechanism where it ticks under no volume? Isn't that fraud? It's like, no, that's not. Not at all. How do I put this? Okay. Buying and selling a security is not necessarily fraud. Okay. So a lot of people have this idea in their head. Oh, somebody comes in, they buy it up, and they do so in a way that kind of forces it up, and then that tricks us all into going long, and so we go long, and then they take their profits on us, and that is manipulation. No, that is trading. That is how trading works. And you have to realize that when somebody is pushing something up, that they are putting a lot of effort, and that it is to their disadvantage for the asset to move up as they're taking the trade. And it's a lot of hard work to have to work with that. Okay. What they have to do because it moves on them is a lot harder than what we do. Okay. And they only will make a move because they have a reason to believe, or they have a need to buy the thing. Okay. They do it because, they think they know what's going to happen. And this whole thing of like, I'm just going to move it up and then, get everybody to go in and then fill up against them. In practice, it's a very, very risky trade and doesn't really work out that way very well. So, why does it move down? It moves down because they know that it's correlated to the 6J. They know that what a treasury is worth is very much dependent on what the dollar is worth. And because one of the largest buyers of treasuries is Japan, if the Japanese yen is moving, that's going to affect the supply and demand in the treasuries. All of the robots know it. They aren't stupid. They just get out of the way when that happens. And you have to understand that most of the market making robots are trying to take fills, especially in the 10-year, right? They are putting liquidity out there and they're trying to make money off of the spread. So if a currency correlation is moving, then those robots are just going to pull. They're just going to cancel their orders because they're saying, oh, well, it's not worth that anymore because of the 6J, and they just get out of the way. And so, yeah, you'll see it tick up and down. I mean, well, it moved down pretty good there, like what, 4 ticks, just like that. 1,000 contracts a tick. Yep, easy peasy. Uzi says 500 orders on bid, for example, 75 sellers hit it and the price clears because 425 bids pulled. Exactly. But the transaction is on the exchange, right? And that's volume. Yep, that all happens on the exchange. They can do like block trades, but those get reported out to the exchange shortly afterwards. Something like 10 minutes afterwards. Those are something isolated to the treasuries and kind of a weird peculiarity of that market when you get some of those block trades in, or like deliveries. But yeah, it's not off change. The advantage, the real advantage to the futures is that everything happens on exchange. Now, you could, I mean, if you want to actually buy a bond, you can actually go and buy the bond in the cash market, and that's a different thing. But what about ES? Well, ES will do it too, but it's not as common. I can't think of a correlation with the E-mini that is so strong that it will just tick up on nothing, you know? Certainly, though, if the dollar is weak, the E-mini tends to go up. Oh, good. Thank you for reminding me. Turn them on. Actually, you know what? I want to change J today. I want to go and I want to put him on 3 contracts. I'll do 3 contracts. Enable. Oh, and also... my limits, well, let's do 300. Let's set it like that. Okay. Jay has continued to do well. So I was thinking like, I don't know if I really got a good one to do the combine, but then Jay continued to just smash it out of the park. And so I don't know if he'll actually get the whole, get to it, but I think he's gonna do his thing. Yeah, if it was in ZB and there's like 500 orders and then only 75 trades, like, ugh. I have to say, nothing is more frustrating when you're doing a market making style trade and it ticks against you and puts you in the negative on like literally no volume. And you're like, what the heck is going on? Because you don't know why it did that. It's just like it's absorbing, it's being tight, and then all of a sudden the easy tick is the one that's exactly the exactly worst tick for you, right? That's the way that it goes. So let's come in here to Twitter, see if missed anything interesting. So for futures for December 22 have managed to hold just above their contract level. We should probably put a little bit more effort into those, but I don't even know if I get that data. Let me check here in the difference. But you can see them pull, right? Yeah, but it often happens really quickly, right? Generally speaking, it's when that happens, it's going to be like so fast that you can't react to it, right? But you'll see me do that from time to time, right? I'll be trying to do my one tick in the 10-year, and I see it tick against me. on like no volume, and then I glance over at the dollar and the yen, and I'm like, oh, okay, move because of the yen, and then I immediately get out. People are free to pull if they want. Yes, that's true. Basically, it means that like you got screwed over from a factor that is probably not generally pertinent to your strategy, right? Unless your strategy is trading the 6J 10-year correlation, right? But that's a tough one because like, when does it matter and when does it not? That's the thing that I want to know. Because here this morning, it didn't matter. So I don't know. Oh my gosh. Nicholas Nassim Taleb is just so combative. And I find it so entertaining. I mean, he's right. I wouldn't be that mean, but most critics of the paper, he was talking about his Bitcoin black paper, I think is what they're calling it. Most of the critics of the paper, such as Nopitz Lily, have the reading comprehension of an overactive but sleep-deprived mouse doing a controlled test of the effect of amphetamines. Gold does not have an absorbing barrier. It can survive without degrading. I explained in the paper that it was about gold's physical qualities survived hundreds of thousands of years, so one must be really dumb to comment on the paper without reading it. Mm-hmm. How do I say this? I don't want it to be like a... I probably just shouldn't say anything, huh? There's no way to make it come out to be like, I'm in your support. Like, it would just sound like a threat, like, don't say that, we'll report you. Oh, Taleb. How much, so I'm gonna bet you. Well, maybe not. I don't know. Because it's Bitcoin. I have not known an instance where somebody got banned on Twitter because of something related to Bitcoin, right? But I'm concerned that Nicholas Nassim, or what, I forget which Nicholas Nassim, which one is his first name? Mr. Taleb. I'm concerned about Mr. Taleb's combative demeanor would cause Twitter to ban him. And then what will I do? Ooh, by the way, I'm rumor mill says that Trump is going to be making some sort of social media play today. Or not today, this week. I'm going to bet you that it's going to be a little underwhelming, but let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. Who is Taleb? We're talking about the author of the Black Swan book. Yeah, now you know who I'm talking about. This is this guy who has specialized in predicting difficult to predict events, and he is independently wealthy off of some big time options trades that he has made in the past, and has now transitioned towards being a scholar, manages a journal, etc., etc. Yes, and the whole thing is that he wrote a paper about why Bitcoin is not worth anything. And I think that he has a very solid argument, and the Bitcoin community is very unhappy with him because of that. Oh, that's cool. Need to take. Well, I tell you what, man, you want an example of a slow market? Just look at the E-mini here. Look at the level 2 in ES. There's a few flickers here and there, but it is like almost nothing is going on. Lebanese people are the best. I don't know much about Lebanon, to be honest with you. Yeah, there you go. So the crux of his argument is this, that there is a problem with Bitcoin in that in the future it could be banned by governments, or it could be supplanted by superior technology, and you have to continually put energy into Bitcoin in the form of mining for it to be worth anything. And so he says that at some point in the future, it is likely that Bitcoin would be worth nothing. And if it is worth nothing in the future, then it should be worth nothing now because of certain principles that we've learned in pricing models. So he is really taking a pricing approach to it. You know what I mean? Like he's trying to say, here's how we model out what something is worth. Here's how you model a bond. Here's how you model equities. How do you apply that to Bitcoin? You can't. And because of all of these properties about it, everything that we know about traditional finance should say that Bitcoin is really only worth anything because of speculation, and that eventually it will go to nothing. And it is an argument that I am partial to, but I should note that my own research does not go that far. My own research only suggests that the actual blockchain activity in Bitcoin is a substantial factor in its price, and that since 2017, there has been a disconnect between on-chain transactions and the price of Bitcoin, which has only happened historically because of manipulation or fraud. And so it very strongly lines up with the theory that Tether has been printing money that doesn't exist and supporting Bitcoin price at a level that it shouldn't be having. So Bitcoin is only worth anything because of the very fiat currencies crypto peeps think BTC will ultimately replace, right? People should have taken the JP Morgan Bloomberg comment more seriously to how overvalued BTC still is. You know, I don't remember that, what they said. By the way, over the weekends, Binance got banned by the UK. I don't think that they had substantial operations there, so I don't think that that's a big deal, but yeah, this continues to be a problem, right? BTC can be worth moon dollars if dollars don't exist. Yeah. Well, you can't use it to buy stuff. It's funny to watch it though, Uzi, right? Because you're probably thinking back to you know the time period I am when Bitcoin was just made from then until 2016 basically, or 2017. I guess it really happened in early 2017, right? From there until there, it was Bitcoin is going to replace everything and we're just going to use Bitcoin. And then they made this decision to not increase the block size, and they very quickly realized, like at first it was like, it won't be a problem. But then people started doing these spam attacks where the blockchain, the memory pool filled up very, very quickly. And it was very obvious right away that you really couldn't use Bitcoin for real transactions anymore. And so that was when they then shifted to this concept of digital gold, right? But this is a big part of Taleb's argument too. He's basically pointing out why the digital gold argument is dumb. Because it really is. It's like, why should an asset hold its value? And he talks about it in the paper. Like, why does gold hold its value? Well, gold is like a physical thing. Once you mine it, it's there forever. It doesn't degrade or anything like that over time. You can just put it in a dark room and it can sit there for thousands of years and it will still be just as good. Right? And these are the things that make gold valuable. And then he turns around and he talks about it with Bitcoin. And he's like, all of the things that make gold valuable in the long run don't apply to Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin, if you stop mining it, then it's worthless, right? Cryptos are a wealth transfer mechanism for inexperienced investors and traders driven entirely by speculation and currency pairing. That's why they're entirely hype. And YouTube finances have that Bitcoin is seen as peak, to be honest. I do too. But something tells me that there might be another solid run later in the year, in the fall. At the same time, though, I also kind of feel like Bitcoin didn't fall as much as it should. I think that they need to have a significant probe between 30 and 20K. So we'll see. Like, what I see right now is a bunch of really stubborn investors that don't want to give up. But there's a larger problem with this, right? Because again, like, where has the money come from? And from everything I can see, it's come primarily from Tether. So, and for whatever reason, it's not even Tether can hold it up at the price that it had. So, how is Tether backing Bitcoin? Well, I mean, it's not backing Bitcoin, right? But what's happened is, like Uzi said, Bitcoin is just completely tied to the value of the dollar. If the dollar wasn't worth anything, then Bitcoin wouldn't be worth anything, because you can only do something with it by transferring over to it and then transferring out, because you can't buy anything directly with it. And Tether is a cryptocurrency that's supposed to be tied to the dollar. There's a peg that's, it's supposed to hold the whole dollar. And it looks like what they're doing is they've kind of got these robots out there that kind of maintain that one-to-one relationship with Tether and dollars. But then they will just print dollars with Tether. They will just print Tethers and go and buy Bitcoin with it and not actually have the money in the back. So they say the amount of actual cash that they have on hand is like minuscule. And then the rest of it is in like promissory notes, and we don't even know who those are. But the speculation is that it's exchanges, and that they're essentially loaning exchanges money. The exchanges use that to buy up the price of Bitcoin and manipulate things, and then they make money, and that's how the whole scheme works. So like the gist of it is, if you tried to, well, let's go and look at how much what the market cap for that is right now. Okay, so the market cap for Tether is 62 billion, right? 100,000 million billion. Yeah, 62 billion. So if even 10% of that somebody tried to liquidate, they wouldn't be able to fill up. Eventually, the sucker class will run out of money to make crypto markets worth institutional time, and when that happens, I think that's already happened. I think that the suckers, quote unquote, got in with the whole Elon Musk Dogecoin hype, and that they're already out and in pain. But the issue is with that theory, Uzi, is that they've all been told to just hodl, right? They've all been told, just get in. It doesn't matter if it goes down 50%, whatever, and on hold to it. And so what you're going to see is they're going to be very, very stubborn. And it requires like washing out the margin positions to push us down. So this is why I like that 26, I think it's 26 area ends up being really important, because like that's where MSTR is long from. Right. So yeah, that's cryptocurrencies. But it still is just like, what's going to make it do it? Like, if it really needs to crash, what's going to make it do it? Because it like almost doesn't matter if suckers are getting in. They just print more Tether, right? And when you're printing like $1 billion in Tether a day in some points, yeah, there's a lot of money. Like when you really realize like how much money they're talking about, like they're saying, think about this. The Tether, 75-80% of their reserves or something like that is in commercial paper. That makes them one of the largest players in the commercial paper market, and none of the banks know who they are. None of the banks are working with them or know a thing about them. This is a company, it's like 6 people. It's like 6 people managing $62 billion. $62 billion? Can you imagine? That is a ton of money under management. How can it be that high? And at this point, you have to say there's absolutely no way that all of that money came from people depositing money into Tether. They printed it out of nowhere. And part of me thinks that the Bitcoin market doesn't care, that they actually know that this is going on, and they're just going to look the other way, and that it would require a regulator to come in. But on the other hand, I am seeing a lot of people start to talk about this. Jim Cramer did an expose on it. CoffeeZilla did an expose on it. Like, people are starting to realize, like, guys, this is a big problem. Like, remember when the Madoff scheme fell apart? Like, it affected markets, you know? Imagine the regulatory hammer will come down on cryptos. Why hasn't it already, you know? It's been 3-4 years now. Haven't done anything about it. Something makes me think that maybe they're making money off of it too. I can see proof of stake working by banks staking via their reserve requirements. So the staking thing is a kind of weird, because those guys, they have like really high rates that you get in, right? Like, you make 15-20% from just parking your money somewhere. Like, come on, that's not going to work forever, right? But you have to, ultimately, for this to work, you have to have the support of the U.S. government, really. Why hasn't it already? Because there's too much money to be made, I guess. I've seen pretty significant profit taking against this latest move up in the E-mini over the past hour, which suggests to me that a number of active positions in the E-mini at this moment is very low. So it's still like I really am kind of starting to be tempted to take a trade, but I know that this is like really bad action for a trade. Momentum could pick up, but who cares if it does? Park your money considered Yotta? No, it's not Yoda, it's Yotta. Yotta. There you go. Dude, I love that thing so much. I only have like $80 in it, but I should go and park a few thousand in that thing because it's fun. And the referrals are fun too. You refer somebody and then you get to compare winnings and everything. I think we just created a cheap bubble market with crypto as a hype machine, drawing in dumb money to be ransacked by fees and leveraged speculation. Where is the Yoda? Oh, he's just over there. I didn't have him over there because I kept having to move him like he was in the way. So I kind of put it over there. I was like, this is no big deal. I need to, I don't know. I really would like to improve the stream. And now that I have the teleprompter, I'm kind of like not sure what else I can do to improve the channel. Like the things that I would want to do to improve the channel would like involve hiring people, and we would need a much larger monthly cash flow to do that. I wish it was to a point where I could just do it full time though. And then, but one of the thoughts that I've had is maybe I should get another camera. I could get another camera, preferably one that has better autofocus, because with this one, the autofocus on it is just absolutely terrible. You cannot take a video with it. You just can't record a video with the autofocus on because it will constantly focus in and out of your face. But maybe if I got a Sony that's a little bit better at that, then I could put that camera over there in the corner and leave it there all the time with the teleprompter attached to it. And then I would be better able to record during the week so that if there was this key news event or something like that, I could try and make a video about it and analyze it. We're not going to talk about that. This will be a good morning. Well, I think even if the trade is going to suck, I think we can have fun here today, right? You spent the weekend in the mountains? Ooh, yes. By the way, on Wednesday is supposed to be when the UFO report goes to Congress, right? The armed services or whatever, the guys with the security clearance already got it, but I think that Congress is supposed to get it on Wednesday. So that'll be fun. Time to buy those Lockheed Martin calls, I guess. I don't consider myself politically correct, but there are some things that just aren't worth talking about. You know what I mean? Like, here's the thing. If you want me to talk about something that matters, like, the threat that communism poses to civilized society, right? Then when it's pertinent, we can talk about that. And I don't care what YouTube thinks about that. But there's other subjects that's just like, I could care less. I could care less and aren't worth talking about on my stream. have not heard a thing from my new squawk this morning. I'm like, is it working? I think it works. It's on. It's just quiet. Oh, I should be hearing something because Williams is saying stuff. Oh, yes, that's good. Very good, Win. There's the referral link. See, I can see a few things. The Fed's Williams, the demand for U.S. dollar and paper money is increasing. At times of crisis, money market funds and treasury markets can lose liquidity. Like he's talking, it doesn't seem to be affecting the markets, but I'm not hearing the news squawk say anything, so. Are they on vacation today? Oh, look, John Grady finally tweeting here. FairX exchange products are supposed to launch today. Zero commission futures trading will be interested to see if they gain traction and if the liquidity and volatility make them worthwhile. Keep an eye on them. Could be a game changer in the industry. Also, the CME is launching new Treasury futures contracts August 16th. Micros based on trading the yield could be interesting. We'll have to see what the fees are and how much liquidity appears. I suspect on those micros, there's going to be a ton of liquidity. And if there's not, there could be some real opportunities. When are we going to do? No, I'm not going to do promo codes for them. So we are going to do a video with them. Okay, we're going to do a video with them. It's a sponsored video. We're going to run our robot and see what we think of their combine and the changes that they've made to it. But I'm not going to do promo codes. No. Why? Because there's a couple of reasons. So first of all, I just when kind of with how the combines have gone over the years, I regretted using the earn to trade promo code. We used to have one, okay? But after that, I got rid of it because I think it's one thing to make a video with them and give people an idea of what the service is like and informing the public so that they can make their decisions. But when I start doing the promo code, then that I feel like creates kind of a conflict of interest. Like now it is in my interest to get as many people as possible to take the combines. And I simply do not believe that that is a service that everybody should be taking advantage of. If you have a strategy that you know fits the parameters of the combine and you don't have enough money to fund it yourself and you would make more from trading one of their combine accounts, then go for it. If you want to do a very risky strategy that you wouldn't feel comfortable using your own money because you know that it could blow up, but it would still have a good chance of passing a combine and being able to make a bunch of money before it blows up, then go for it. But, like all of these new traders and your average person is going to be much better off trading micro futures. So that's why I don't want to do the promo code. And the things that I have promo codes for in my description are all things that I have no reservations recommending to everybody that's interested in futures trading. Okay. Jigsaw is an absolutely great platform. And now that they have charts, it has literally everything that you need unless you want to do automated trading, right? And realize the only reasons that I'm still using NinjaTrader is because of the dollar index and the automated trading mostly. Well, in my other all of my indicators really, because the inventory cost basis is really useful too. Okay. And then financial juice, I just don't see how people can trade without a new squawk, without knowing what's going on. Can you owe a broker money if you blow up your futures margin account? Potentially, yes, you could. But in practice, it would be extremely, extremely rare. So what could potentially happen is, say you have a $500 account, right? And you trade an E-mini contract, and then all of a sudden some really big move occurs out of nowhere. You don't have a stop set, or it goes beyond your stop, or like they halt the market and then it moves 10% against you or something, and then opens up again, and you end up incurring more than a $500 loss before your broker is able to take you out of the position, then you would owe the broker money. Okay. But generally speaking, as soon as you hit your margin limit, your broker's just going to take you out and you're not actually going to owe money. So it's possible, especially if you're trading really large size, but it's extremely uncommon. It's a lot less common than some of the things that can happen in options trading, right? In options trading, you could really end up owing money. And it gets scary because there's not a lot of liquidity in the options, and so you could end up getting taken out of a position at a very... Well, I mean, this happened to a bunch of people trading GameStop, right? And all their positions were liquidated. Anyways, what else do I have? Oh, and then the Yada thing, like Yada, why? That's an easy one, because I'm literally giving you money with Yada, right? If you haven't signed up for it, use the promo code down in the video description, and both of us get bonus tickets, and that can be worth, typically it's worth like $5 to $10 actually. But you get tickets, and then, it could be worth $1 million actually. Maybe you sign up and you win the lottery and you make $1 million. And guess what? You're not out anything, because it's just a savings account. You put the money in there, and it's a savings account that yields more than a traditional savings account. So like, that is the easiest recommendation in the world, man. So you don't have to spend any money. You actually make money from doing it, and it's fun. So that one, of course, I have that one. And then the mugs, because it's a good quality mug, my friends. I love the mug. The mug is great. So, that's how I roll. But I do want to work with everybody in the industry that's pertinent. I tell you what, I get a lot of people mail me wanting to do like sponsored videos or promo codes, things like that I turn down like every week. So especially Forex brokers, I think I've had every one of those Forex brokers come to me and I'm like, nope, not interested. Forex, nope. Forex trading rooms, nope, not interested in trading rooms. Indicators, I mean, there's some indicators that are good, but I don't think they'll ever team up with indicators. But the combines, those are relevant to everybody. Platforms, brokers, exchanges, let's do it. Other creators, if other creators came to me and wanted to do stuff together, probably would say yes, as long as they're not like blatantly scamming people. Oh my gosh. Okay, so first we have to answer this question. What does latent liquidity mean? So when you look at the DOM, you can see number of limit orders resting at every individual price, and we call that resting liquidity. that is resting liquidity. And what we will see happen is maybe it ticks up and a lot of that resting liquidity disappears, right? But what is more often the case, and especially in the E-mini, you'll see like 95 sitting there, but then like it takes 300 to actually trade through it. So there's actually more liquidity than what you can see resting there at any one given time. And so as things move around, there's actually quite a bit more liquidity that shows up. And this is called the latent liquidity. And once we start modeling how the latent liquidity behaves, that starts to reveal some of the more interesting behaviors from limit order books, such as the square root law of market meta order impact. Yeah, I suppose you could call it absorption, but it could be that the latent liquidity is less than the resting liquidity. So, yeah. Jason Taylor asks, isn't options define risk, for instance, buying a call? No. Yeah, so here's the issue, is that what you do is you go and you sell calls. The naked selling calls is the worst one, right? In fact, I think that a lot of retail brokers won't let you do it. Okay, but you can come out and you sell a call, right? Which means that you're giving somebody the option to buy the stock at a specific price. So if it goes up, then you're going to have to go out and buy shares of that stock at the current market price to pay that person that had the call at the other price, right? Which means that your risk is literally unlimited. So here again is where once you use up all of your margin, the broker is supposed to give you a margin call, and in the margin call, they will go and buy the shares for you and close out the position and then close your account, right? But in a situation like that where, it moves further than the price that you had for your calls, that often it comes off of like news, or it happens in the aftermarket, like off of earnings or something like that, right? And so by the time they are able to buy the shares for you, the price could be substantially higher. And so that is where in options, you could very much so end up owing money. There are also, if you are doing kind of some of these more complicated trades like condors and stuff, there is also some execution risk. So there could be a situation where you've bought one call and you've sold another call, for instance, right? Well, with the call that you've bought, you're okay on that one because you can always choose when to execute it and everything, right? But the sell call, if that side of the trade is going bad, well, how far can it go? And so there could be a situation where one side of it gets filled and the other side doesn't, and you could end up owing money from that too. So there's I forget what they call it. But there's a risk there with those multi-leg strategies and options. That's why with me, with a very, very small account, and I don't do options very often, but actually the only time I did the options was basically when we thought that silver was going to take off, and it was good that one day, and I should have just taken the profits that one day, but I didn't, and it didn't continue. So they expired worthless. But on those small accounts, I'm only going to buy puts and calls, basically. Holding through expiration. Yeah, well, I didn't I wasn't necessarily think I was going to hold it through expiration, but it was just like it had one really good day, and I really thought that the momentum was going to continue. And like at that point, I was like well in the money and everything, so it was like I might as well just let it run now, right? But it almost immediately reversed, so it had a lot more to do with the price action in the silver than it did the holding it all the way through to expiration. But yeah. So man, I was gonna say somewhat. I was I don't remember what it was that I said that made me think about this, but yesterday I came across this YouTube channel. Can you play back Jigsaw? I don't think that they have a built-in facility for doing the replay, but if you go through the Ninja Trader bridge, you could use Jigsaw. You could use Ninja Trader's replay. I've like never used the Ninja Trader playback feature, so yeah, I came across this YouTube account. There was a Reddit thread, and somebody mentioned a YouTube channel, and my recollection was they had more subscribers than me, so maybe I'm just jealous. But it was like an automated trading channel, and they were doing Ninja Trader 8, right? And this guy was regularly posting his performance. And oh my gosh, his stats were so bad. like he had made money. I think he had made like 10K over the course of a year. So he had made money, don't get me wrong. But he had a negative Sharpe ratio. I was trying to like I know that that's possible. In fact, I actually when first time I had heard that, I went in and tried to create a strategy and be like, okay, like what would be the parameters? And I couldn't actually get one. Like it's pretty crazy to have a strategy that's net profitable but has a negative Sharpe ratio. They had a negative Sharpe ratio. I couldn't believe it. I was like, why the stupid YouTube algorithm? Why would you give somebody with, the attention like that? The negative Sharpe ratio. Options giveth and taketh. Profit taking is a crucial component that a lot of people seem to miss. Well, yeah, but I mean the thing though is that with the options, if you're doing calls, then the way you make money is you catch that runner and it just keeps going, right? And if you did it correctly, there's no reason for you to not hold it and let it run, right? But the issue on that one was that it ended up being a day trade. It ended up that it should have been a day trade. So now with the other kind of strategies, it's totally true. Like with you're doing a condor or a call spread or something like that, and it's gone and it's reached your target, like just take it off, dude. Like why wouldn't you just take it off? Or I guess you caught a really good trender and it's just kind of really found balance. But with the trade that I was on, I was making the trade on the assumption that we were going to get a GameStop-like squeeze. And you know what? If people had gone for it, I think that it would have actually happened. But they didn't go for it, and it almost immediately came all the way back down. So yeah, it wasn't the overall. I mean, you get what I'm saying. Like the issue there was much more that the overarching thesis didn't pan out than it was. Obviously, if I had taken profits, I could have made some money on it, but the trade thesis was wrong. ECB hawks and dove spars. Tapering debate fires up, says Reuters. European Central Bank policymakers on Monday started a public debate about ending emergency bond purchases launched at the start of the coronavirus pandemic last year. Gus, good morning. How are you? Where's Mumbler 1? Good morning again. I don't know. I personally, for options, I think that options can be really useful, particularly if with a decent sized account to hedge yourself. But overall, it's a losing game, especially if you're buying or selling puts, unless you really have something that you really know something, then you should buy options. Or if you have a big account, then you can sell options. Like selling covered calls is not a bad strategy if they're covered. But you don't make a ton. But if you have a couple $100,000 to risk, then go for it. Guess pointing out new attacks in Iran, Syria. You know, I don't. So I saw that news headline on Zero Hedge last night that Biden had ordered airstrikes somewhere. And first of all, it was kind of like, wait, where are we doing? Where is there a problem that we should be doing something? You know? But I think it was in Syria. But the thing that surprised me the most was when I was reading that, they said this was like the third time now. It's like, wait, they've done 2 more airstrikes? And I was like, actually, maybe I do vaguely remember, but like, it doesn't get covered at all. I remember when Donald Trump made an airstrike against Syria, it was pretty big news, but then people forgot about it very quickly. Now with Biden, it's like they don't even talk about it. How many people don't know? How many people do you think that don't know? Or at the end of the week will ask, you know, was there a strike? They won't know. The Treasury's doing maybe having some opportunity here for us if things pick up a little bit. Uzi says he only knows because of Zero Hedge. Biden won and people turned a blind eye. This really is what happened, doesn't it? Like, once Biden got in, I think that people were so burnt out from the news during the Trump years that they just can't be bothered with Biden. It's like, yeah, we all know he's an idiot. There's nothing you can do about it. And so they turned off, like what they should have done in the first place with Trump, but the media just wouldn't let it go. The media these days don't really care to say anything about Biden. So it's like, I don't know. Okay, E-mini having a pretty slow open. Slightly bearish, but not enough of a delta change for me to want to take a trade. Anecdotally, it's noticeable on Facebook, like my experience on Facebook went from all politics all the time to absolute political ghost town. Yeah. So like one of the things that I think is kind of interesting is that there's in the weightlifting community, there is quite a controversial subject because there's a trans athlete just going to the Olympics. And I mean, he's almost certainly going to win the gold medal. But I don't see anybody talking about that one either. No, like that would normally be something that people would be arguing about a ton. I went to the weightlifting subreddit on Reddit. Nothing about it. You go on Facebook, nothing about it. Friends that were tripping over themselves for Biden now saying nothing about politics at all. Well, hopefully it's because they realize that they just suck at politics, right? I think that's what it comes down to, because they're very good at manipulating people, and I think that you kind of have to sit down and because with Joe Biden, like maybe you think that voting for Joe Biden was the right choice if you voted for Joe Biden. Okay. I see a lot of stuff about search results for regret Joe Biden, you know, but I don't really think that people search for that. I think that that might be manipulated. But maybe you regret voting for him, but you still think that it was the right choice or something like that, you know? It's just like, but the way that it panned out, so if you voted for him, you don't really like him, but you still thought that it was the right thing to do, I think you still have to be looking at what's going on right now and feel like you were deceived. You know what I mean? Because were so many things that he said during the campaign that he immediately went back on. Immediately. And there was a ton of things that he said in his campaign that everybody said, dude, this is a really dumb idea. I can't believe you would do this. And then he's done them, and they have already correctly proven out to be really bad policies. His action on the border being the prime example. Yeah, I just think it's the fact that Trump gave people a 4-year interest in politics. They formed a community around resistance, and without a fight, they really just don't care about politics. Well, it's not. Yeah. So the issue is that it seems that on social media, controversy, political infighting, generates more engagement. So when you get into like this whole, Joe Biden thing, okay, so like there's plenty of things to criticize Joe Biden about, but how do you create the engagement on that, right? Like conservatives want to go and point out that Joe Biden is completely mismanaging the border, and who on the other side wants to defend it? Right? Like we all know that it was just a dumb decision, and that what's going on over there is just like totally stupid, right? So, and nobody's going to stick their neck out for that. And so it doesn't create the engagement on Facebook. It doesn't filter up to the top and create all of the activity like everything that Donald Trump did, because everything that Donald Trump did, all of the people that didn't like Donald Trump wanted to be really vocal about it, and all of the people that supported him wanted to be really vocal about it, and so it created a really high amount of engagement. Which Joe Biden, that doesn't happen because nobody wants to defend him. Isn't it ironic? I mean, on the normie level, not on the broader internet, obviously Twitter's still awash with political BS, but like your average friend that foamed at the mouth for the last 4 years is straight up Helen Kellering it now. Yeah. Well, it's just like this whole time, remember what it was saying, like I see so many people that seem to be interested in politics that have no business being interested in politics, is like the only way that I can really put it. There's definitely happens. Like listen, guys, there is a lot to know about politics. There's a lot. Okay, you that can be your thing. Like, you want a hobby? Reading about politics can be your hobby. That's what most middle-aged men, that's what their hobby used to be. They'd get the newspaper and they would just read the newspaper, and they knew everything that was going on in politics in the world. They'd read the whole newspaper every night, right? And yeah, there are still some people that do, but it's a lot. It just doesn't seem very common. But I like to read. I'll read Politico. Like I want to know what's going on. Okay, and that is not most people. So when all of a sudden everybody on Facebook is talking about the sort of things that you would typically only read on Politico, like something's wrong. Yeah. Same thing for some of my Trump friends. Trump lost, and they suddenly took the black pill suppository and stopped with politics altogether. Yeah, well, man, if you go to the Donald, well, it's patriots.win now, but wow, that place is just it's gone so downhill. I'm sorry for anybody that visits that website and disagrees, but that website has become a literal cesspool. Okay, like there's like the submissions themselves. There's still a good number of good submissions, but they're not really very interesting because it's mostly just takes on things that everybody already knows and aren't all that funny. But the stormers are infiltrating is what's happening. So all of the like the real white supremacists out there have been infiltrating the website. And on Reddit, it was like Reddit would find them and ban them. Like the Reddit admins would ban them, and the moderators had a very strong incentive to ban them. And it was always in their rules, like, don't be anti-Semitic, and they were very strict about it. But now that they're on Patriots.win, it's like they're just kind of like hands off. And so every other thread, you will see some comment about Jews in there, and I cannot handle it. I have to tell you, I don't know. You ever seen that movie? Oh, what is it? It's like it's got Justin Timberlake in it, and was like going on about how much he hates slavery to try and impress the girl. So when I say these sorts of things, I'm thinking about like all of the virtue signaling idiots that sound so dumb. Okay, but so understand I'm not trying to do that, but I just for some reason have a soft spot for Jewish people. Every Jewish person that I've ever interacted with was so friendly to me. Like every single one of them, it was like they were instantly best friends with me, even though like really they were just acquaintances, you know. And so any time that I see that sort of stuff, it makes me so mad, and I cannot read the comments there anymore because of that. Because it's like you see it going on, and then like there's still people will stand up against it, and there's like arguments back and forth in the comments, but they don't do anything about it, and it makes me so mad. So like I think that a big part of that, Uzi, is that the Donald Trump strongholds online have basically been decimated. So they were able to hold things up when it was during the election, because honestly, like we all know, okay, they went on an active campaign to suppress groups associated with Donald Trump. This is something that we should remember, because they're going to try and do it now with every Republican, okay? And I mean, they've done it before, but it will be much more active efforts, okay? They're going to try and undermine any community that is pushing anything remotely conservative, right? And Patriots.win did a very good job of still going when it was the election, because people had the interest in it. But then, yeah, after he lost, it was like they just couldn't do it anymore. At that point, the stormers trying to undermine the website just like took over. Did you actually get 2 points on that? Sure. Wow. I guess you did, but it's I'm just surprised that he turned around that quickly, but I guess that's what you tend to do, huh? The far right thinks that Zionism is in line with and funds the radical left. It simply isn't the case and can be further from the truth. Well, no, I mean, it's YouTube finance. I don't think it's that at all. I think that they're literally just anti-Semitic, and they just say whatever BS is the most anti-Semitic. Because anytime, like during the whole Israeli-Palestinian conflict, you know, because most conservatives were very aggressively defending Israel and its right to defend itself, and the stormers will come in and say, "Oh, don't help them." You know, it's as 100% just anti-Semitism, in my opinion. And like the thing is, the thing that I think is telling about it is that it will pop out in the most bizarre places where it literally just has no place in the discussion. And then somebody will point out, "Oh, this guy looks Jewish." It's like, okay, it's not relevant. It's not relevant. You're just spreading hate, and that's what they're doing. And I think that they do it on purpose. I think that they want everybody that's that is really against anti-Semitism to give up and go away is what I think they want. But so that they can just say whatever they want without pushback. Because if you say something like that and then everybody turns on you and says, no, you don't say that, that's inappropriate, then it really hurts your cause, right? But if you say something like that and then everybody in the comments is agreeing with you, then it seems to encourage more people to say that sort of stuff. So that's why I'm just like, okay, that place is a cesspool and there's like nothing you can do about it. It's really sad. But because of that, that's why the Donald Trump people have disappeared. That and the other issue is that hardcore Trump world is 100% invested in that Donald Trump really won the election and that he should be properly reinstated. And even though a lot of Republicans from the surveys that I've seen believe that the election was unfair to some degree or another, I do not think that they are on board with trying to depose Joe Biden midterm and reimpose Donald Trump, right? And so that's also driving people away. Honestly, for the Republican Party and really for the nation, it would be better if it just went away and Donald Trump didn't run again. Would be very toxic if he runs again. Man, we're getting some hardcore flattening in the yield curve again today with the ZB moving up. That could just be because of that pretty strong initial sell. You know, it's funny. The E-mini, it's so tight. I mean, it really is such dead summer trading, but it still seems like almost every day they still get their 10-point run at some point. So it's like, you know, like I watch Ace here because he has a tendency to just flip around when it says to flip over and over again until he gets it. And he's still overall seems to make it out. But I keep wondering about that when it gets to the point where that these just don't happen anymore. Not much to depose when it's weekend at Bernie's at the White House. Well, yeah, like the thing is if they just shut up about it, the Republicans have a really strong hand to play in 2022. So, you know, just don't say anything stupid. Is really what it comes down to. Don't say anything stupid, and Republicans will probably make huge inroads in 2022 and take over the House. Get rid of Nancy. Maybe if Republicans take over the House, Nancy will finally retire and there can be real progress in this country. Yeah, I couldn't say good job, got to poop. Well, I mean, do I really need to say that to you? What? Tell me, does it create an emotional reaction in you when I tell you a good job? Because I didn't think that would be something that you would care about, but maybe I'm being really insensitive. Sorry. Nancy and Mitch both need to go. Well, the reason why I say Nancy is because the leader of the House in particular has a really large say over what the political strategy is for the whole party, and she has very much pushed like radical left strategy. So a lot of this way that the Democrat Party works in the media and so forth over the past 10 years is because of her. So if we get rid of her, I think that things would really calm down. Mitch McConnell does stuff too, but Mitch would get along a lot more than you'd think if things went back to business as usual. You know, things went back to the way that they were back in the Bush years. You know how a guy is always, no matter how old he gets, wants the approval of his father. Okay. I mean, it's the thing that impresses me is that you keep taking it and you're pretty mechanical about it and you're fast. You know, like for me to take that back and forth, I think that a lot of the times I would miss that, especially if I'd just been stopped out a bunch of times and to flip around immediately like that, you know? So that I am really impressed by that. But I keep thinking like I'm concerned because one of the things that I did with your strategy, trying to backtest it, was I said, because the signal itself, it seems like if I put the certain filters on it, I can get it to perform pretty well over a certain period, but it's only like the last 2 years or something. And when I go to further back data, it doesn't work very well. But one of the things that I did was I said, well, maybe the edge has more to do with how he manages it on a daily basis, because he very often will just get like the one runner and then end, you know? And when I did that one, I don't think I had it with a runner. I think I just said, okay, if he gets the 8 points, then he quits for the day. And if he doesn't get the 8 points, he keeps trading until he gets it. And what I found was that it was like 50-50. And the days where Robot Ace didn't get it, he would take it over and over and lose, 2 or 3 times more than that one little 8-tick winner that he caught. So not 8 points, 8 ticks. Let's get 8 ticks. So when I see that, I get a little concerned, but from what I've been seeing, you've been handling it pretty well, and that doesn't happen, that scenario. So that's again where I keep saying that it's like there seems to be something with the risk management that he's doing that he's not conscious about. Like in that situation, how did he know that it was worth trying to take it over and over again versus, yeah, it's just going to keep screwing up on me and I should just leave it? Well, it's been about 20 minutes. So there was a pretty decent drop off on the open, but it was not like a ton of volume on it or anything like that. So, well, if you pick the wrong direction, it's not hard to go in the other direction. Yeah, but what if it's just chopping and it stops you out on that direction too? I mean, haven't you ever had a situation where it failed like 4 or 5 times in a row on you? Then you hit your daily loss and throw the computer. Yeah, exactly. But that's just what I'm saying, is that like the market conditions that I'm seeing, that hitting the daily loss is a much higher probability. But then you're still getting a decent trend from time to time. So it's been working out. But algorithmically, I think that mine would take more failures than it would have made up for it. Actually, how do we sort that out? Because there were some longs. There's like this short. But then it's like, I don't know. Did you take it short at... No, you didn't. You took it at 75, huh? Yeah. You moved in your targets. That's a good point. I just wonder, like, for instance, when it popped up like that you didn't get out and try going long again, for instance, because that's what Robot Ace would have done. Potentially, depending on the filters, 1 point summer. CNBC, Baird suspends GameStop stock coverage citing Reddit influence and lack of plan. What? I was watching people argue over that the other day, and I was very much convinced of the bear case. Like, everybody was talking about how good the management was and everything else like that. And they were like, well, okay, yeah, that's great, but you still have a store that is centered entirely on people buying games physically in store, and a business that, well, by the time the next console generation comes along, won't be there anymore. And they've been trying to, like, make them like esports stations and things, but like I'm not convinced that there's enough money in that to really keep them in business, let alone justify the kind of valuation that Reddit is giving them right now. Let me ask, what causes chop? Well, there's different kinds of chop, but I think that the kind of chop that we're seeing here today is often the result of a market trading when there's just not very many fundamental catalysts. So you don't have any data, you don't have any news, and it's in a seasonal period where volume tends to be lower. You're going to get a lot of chop. Now you're pushing individual stocks. What do you mean? What do you mean? Is there anything else to mean by volume? I'm talking about the total number of contracts traded. So, I mean, as an example here, since the open, we've traded a cumulative delta difference of 2,000 contracts, right? On a down, like if there was a real reason for us to be going down and it was like really bearish, we would have gone down like 10,000 contracts by now, right? It's like an orders of magnitude less. Well, I guess maybe not orders of magnitudes, but it's like 80% less. That's a big difference, right? And why is that? Well, because Fed speaker didn't really say anything important. So what is a reason for somebody to take a trade right now? Other than that it's moving. But I mean, if you're a hedge fund, why would you take a trade? Say that again. I have to be more specific. There's not a fundamental reason to trade. What I said about Delta. Normally we would be, if it was a strong down day, because we had a 10-point down move, right? If this was a day that was going to turn into a downtrend day, you would probably already be 10, 15,000 contracts negative on Delta. Okay. That's if it was going to be a trend day. Okay. Normal day is like, 4,000 or 5,000 changing cumulative Delta up or down. Today, they move 2,000 up, they move 2,000 down. It's not really moving. Overall volume for the day is pretty low. Like in the ES, where do we got? ES 245,000. I should have a relative volume thing on here so that we know, but it's relatively low. Actually, I might be able to do, let's see here. Columns. I guess I have to add it as an indicator. Oh, maybe I don't have it. And a relative volume one. Oh, doesn't Lizard have one? Let's come back over here. How much of that volume was absorbed? Well, all of it. You understand, plummet trading, that for every market order, there's a limit order absorbing it on the other side, right? Now, was there like an iceberg? Doesn't look like it. Actually, there was a few up here, the little ones, but... Here it is. They do have a relative volume. Wait, maybe I do already have it. Relative volume. If it actually pops up here and doesn't crash NinjaTrader. Okay. Reference period in days. Calculation mode, days, day of the week. No. By day of the week over the last 10. Or the last 10. Wait, what are the high volume threshold, low volume threshold? Oh, okay. Okay. Oh, okay. Don't think that I need to use tick replay on this, but if I'm going to do that 10 days back and I'm only going to do 2 days reference back, I don't know. Let's see what it gives me. Nope. It's giving me 0. That means that day's back one probably mattered, huh? So we're going to do it by 10 weeks. Then we need to use like 90 days back. Fingers crossed. Still loading. Cool. Okay, that works. So what is this telling us? In ES, we are 50% of the average volume for Monday. This is, I think, what that means, right? Also, it's saying that the euro is moving Oh yeah, it's moving. Yeah, the dollar kind of I wasn't really paying attention, but the dollar's doing stuff, huh? Actually, maybe we should start sorting by this right here. Huh? Oh yeah, 6E in oil. Them the movers today. Went down of a reason because the ones that weren't absorbing on that level, right? Yeah, I don't want to use the terminology of reason, because in my thinking, when I'm saying like it moved because of a reason, I'm thinking of like news or fundamental catalysts that would cause that to happen. But we can look at what was the order flow as it happened that resulted in those prices, right? And what we see is about 2,000 sold and then about 4,000 bought back up, right? So I don't see icebergs or anything like that. So I'm not going to say that there was any kind of significant absorption that affected that. Oh, you know what? That's another thing that we need to add, by the way. So first, let's do that. Okay. And how should I do this? I want to make a footprint chart because I'm using my full Ninja Trader license now. We'll just do it in ES. Volumetric. What was I doing them on? Ooh, what was that? Okay, so that was an interesting little pop there. Now the treasuries are getting pretty high there. Let me just minimize that for a bit and watch this.
Block sell.
Okay. So there was a pretty aggressive sell. Okay, I think that the piece of news that we might have gotten there was the hold on. I should wait until they post it on Twitter before I give it to you guys. It's not like a huge deal, but Fitch Rating was commenting on CPI and saying that it'll probably still be high. Okay. So this will be a good example for you for the questions that Plummet Trading was asking, right? So there's a couple of things that are going on here in the 10-year. First of all, it's been on a pretty consistent uptrend through the session. It's not a super strong move, but 8 ticks in the 10-year is a decent amount. We ticked up to 06.5. And there was a really large market sell order that came through at 06.5. And it was, if I can bring it up here, there was a 3,000 buy and then a 3,500 sell. So a relatively large order hitting here. And in the end, 06.5 said that 6,000 contracts traded there, traded down, and now it's back up, right? So one thing that we could do, so that's pretty bullish that that's being so strong there, that it got hit with really big orders and they barely even phased them. And you can see that the ZB is continuing to push, right? So if this gets low, right, we might want to hit into it. So, and they're bidding 2,000. Now, if this flips, if this becomes way more than the 07, then you know for sure that something's up, you know? Yep. Okay, so now at 07.5, just note that there was like previously like 3,700 contracts there, and now there's 4,000 contracts there. So the resting liquidity at 07.5 increased when they ticked up, probably because of a bunch of people going along and trying to take profits there. Okay, and they did take 07 pretty aggressively, but it's traded back and forth a few times now. Neither the 30 or the 5 are backing off. Should note also that the 6J has been moving up pretty strongly. NQ is starting to see a lot of volume A. Yeah. Okay, so that one didn't work out. I don't think it was a bad trade, but there's quite a bit of randomness to it there. You can see, but by the way, when the 07 went, like now it's almost 5K. So a lot of offers out there. You've scheduled the air conditioner repairman. Is there anything? I don't know. I don't know anything about air conditioners. I know a lot of people on my Facebook say that they're in relationships with air conditioners, though. Maybe you should ask Facebook. Hmm. And you're still getting this little push and pull, like, that's still trying to flatten. Yeah, like that. Well, anyways. I'm gonna come over here and mess with my footprint chart in the meantime. Do I have a template for it? Yeah. Okay. Takes for level 4 and base period value. I think I was working with 30-minute bars, but I could be wrong. Cool. Okay, so below 42.7, there actually is a pretty decent amount of absorption. Yeah, so if you have enough money to do a combine, I'm pretty sure that you have enough to start an account, but probably not enough to actually trade that account. The issue with the combine is that you go and you start doing it, and then, like, you're in it. So, like, you do it, you'll fail it, and you'll be like, oh, okay, let's do it again. And then you do it like 3 or 4 times, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, if I just funded an account. But it's only like $150, if that, for a micro contract. I don't know what the minimum account is, but I think it's like $400 or something. On AMP, yeah, I think on AMP the minimum account balance is 400. So it's still kind of the same. Like, there's some in the 10-year, there's pretty good absorption in this area, but there's also some pretty large offers that they have to overcome. So they're shying away from it at the moment. In the E-mini, it looks like we're getting pretty good profile here at 42.70. Might not be a bad long at 42.70, but actually let's just okay. Lila Express is just $77. No. Like, the thing that you just got to consider is that if you do the combine and you start doing the combine month after month after month, you know, the data fees is like, oh, I guess the data fee is more like $50 these days, huh? I don't know. You're really only paying $25 extra for the combine. It's not a terrible deal. Okay, good. That was good. Market's still pretty slow, but okay, now that time 06 half bold quite a bit, but nobody hit into it. If I get rich, I will buy anything. I don't need anything, thank you, though. Like I was saying, I'm thinking, you know, maybe next thing I should do is save up for a camera so that I can have a camera set up over there that has an autofocus and will just always be there so that at any point in the day I can write something up, beam it over to my phone, and record a very quick video. But otherwise, I feel like I got everything. What else got I do? Oh, I could do curtains. There's put a curtain there, and maybe that would be a little bit less. Well, you know what? There's no problem with room ambience on this stream, so I maybe it's not worth it. I could get an air conditioner, but you know what? I fixed the air conditioning problems over the weekend too. It's pretty cold in here today. So no, I think I have everything I need. Hertz to emerge from bankruptcy this week. Oh boy. Okay, so look at that. So there was about 4,500 on offer at 070. I bet you that it trades 5,000 to trade up. How much is that? How much is what? A new camera? Oh, I don't know. You need to go and look at it. What do you do? Like a Sony full frame? This is probably almost $1,000, huh? They ain't cheap. I tell you that. Okay, so 47,000 contracts to trade through 07. It went bid briefly, and now they've offered 1,500 contracts more, right? So this is what we mean by latent liquidity, right? So it wasn't just what was on rested there. Like they traded up, they ticked up, and then it came back, and there's a little bit more. And this is part of what causes the square root law of market order impact. Yeah. Meanwhile, ES came back. Oh, yes. So what I was going to do over here was turn on tick replay for starters. And then I was going to try adding my indicator onto it. No, indicators. Indicators, they're tears for indicators. Oh, yes, I also have to change the session. CME index futures quant edge setup. That'll give me all of the different time cutoffs. Yes, there you go. Okay. So that's not bad. Any ideas for a title for today? Thank you for thinking about that early, Swin. Why I always don't have these nicer things. Well, do you have a full license? So the volumetric bars, you have to, it's part of the full license. You won't have access to them. And then this other thing that I have on there is just my indicator, right? So yeah. As droughts and heat gets worse, the U.S. needs to figure out how to share dwindling water supplies to avoid regional battles that could deal lasting damage to local economies. Yeah. I'm telling you, there is a battle brewing between California and the rest of the Intermountain West. One that could significantly change political lines. Like, I think even Nevada could turn on California. Colorado definitely could be a significant thing if it really comes in there. Bitfinex says Binance isn't really banned in the UK. Is the new Tether only be backed by 3% cash is totally cool. Stop the FUD. Yeah, okay. Well, it wasn't good for 2 ticks, but it was good for 1 tick. And look at how much was absorbed back at 06.5. 9,000. That's significant. It's a lot. Maybe you should do this on 5-minute bars and see that. What's the difference between something and nothing? Not sure what you mean, to be honest with you. Oh, I didn't changed off of the volumetric bars. Gosh dang it. Cancel. Templates. Load. Footprint. 5G connected robots, huh? Five G is some technology, yeah. I don't think people realize how transformative it could be to society, because it was like, think about how significant it was when everybody got cell phones, and now think about what it's going to be like when literally every electronic device in the world is connected to a cell phone and it has low latency. It's a big deal. Okay, well, that's not bad. I don't remember if I was doing a 30-minute chart or a 5-minute chart, but I used to look at it and be like, if it does more than X volume within X period, and then that's enough absorption to try and reverse it. And controlled by a single operator from hundreds of miles away with live video and thermal imagery available to anyone in the world. Exactly. Crazy stuff. And then you'll have all of these flying drones that will be connected with the 5G. Oh, that's when it gets really crazy, right? Plummet trading, have you backtested? Yeah, actually, you know what? I didn't backtest it. Yeah. I shouldn't give the impression that that was one that like I thought was really reliable. That there was actually, so the story behind that was like during the pandemic, like early on in the pandemic, you would often get days that were just like really awful. Like it seemed like the market was just selling really hard. And then it would miraculously bounce every time. And that's when we were all joking about the plunge protection team and everything, right? And it was often the case that you would see 10 to 20,000 contracts absorbed in a specific location or a range of prices. And that was when you'd get the miraculous recovery. But it was like something that we were looking for like just at that time. And it's not something that I would like keep tabs on all the time and everything, but I'm just kind of making this chart because I haven't had a footprint chart up for a while, and I've kind of wanted to be able to look at that to kind of get a better idea of how the volume has been splitting out. But I don't know if it's terribly useful in this really choppy action, so I don't know. We did get, a trade out of the E-mini, but it was pretty... Okay, so that right there, they're breaking into 06 and they traded 3,700. That's a big change. The 5-year ticked down. The 30-year is still up there, but it looks like that the 5-year is being a little bit more weighing on the 10-year than the 30-year is pulling it up because of the flattening appears to be coming from the 5-year. It is really flattening too. Well, it seems like there's still plenty of buy interest. I don't know. What is the difference between a lot and not enough volume? Well, in the context in which I'm talking about it, it's a difference between whether you'll have good trades or not. Right. So you can see here when I've taken these two in the treasury, they haven't exactly been the greatest trades, have they? And a lot of that is because there's not that much volume, relatively speaking, compared to what it would normally be on a Monday. I'm going to close that window because I don't need it, really. Well, ZB and ZN is saying that it's more volume than is usual. I would say that the market's still fairly tight, but I guess I did get interested in it because it was starting to show a little bit of signs of life and really bullish, right? What is volume? Volume is all market orders, basically. Well, actually, I don't know how they specify it. It's the total number of contracts traded that day, or the total number of transactions. I don't think that they count each transaction as two, so pretty sure it's just the total number of transactions that day. Otherwise, it would only ever increase by 2, and we certainly know that's not the case. On larger time frame, an ES pullback would be normal today. Yeah, it would. You mean like markets against limits? Say, oh, what you're saying isn't. I have no clue what you're trying to say. I can't tell if they're genuine questions or if he's like trying to trip me up or something. Well, I tell you what, we have sure seen a lot of contracts traded 06.5, haven't we? VWAP. How did you get a P out of? How did you get a Y out of that P? Was that on your phone? I mean, like, market orders in the ZN are not enough because of the many limits in it, or because they are really not enough. Well, yes, to some extent. Like, I guess what I think you're trying to say, Plummet Trading, is that it's harder for price to move in ZN because there are so many limit orders at every price. That's true. Ace himself doesn't know why he had called it the V way. So this is where it gets kind of interesting, because it's like assuming that the orders don't pull. So that's a big key, is that you're going to see one price where they have to trade 6,000 contracts in order for it to tick up and down, and then you're going to see another price where it only takes like 500, and it's like, what? Where does a volume weighted average yeet? Oh gosh, dude, that's today's title. That's so freaking funny. Oh my gosh. No, not yet. I just want to edit. I don't want to end the stream. Volume weighted average yeet. Now we need to come up with a maybe that's what we should call the we should rename the inventory cost basis to the VWAY. It's because of when you throw your money away because of why. Yeah, there you go. Oh man. The V-Way. Oh, man. Can you imagine? So next time, I'm going to start calling it that, if that's okay. We use like the inventory cost basis, which, by the way, Ace, if you go and you install in your NinjaTrader from speculatorslet.com and then give me the information, I will let you use. I'll start calling it the V-Way, and then there'll be some newbie in here asking me what the V-Way is. And I'll be like, well, the V-Way stands for volume weighted average Yeet. And this is a custom, I'll be dead serious about it. It'll be hilarious. Thanks, I worry it will break my computer. If you should put it on a chart that you already have tick replay on. And if you don't have a chart that you have tick replay on, then it will be a little bit of processor, and then maybe it is better that you don't use it. We still got to build you a new, as if you thought about getting new, because if you get the new components, I could come over, like we could build the computer and we could we'll make a video about it. It'd be fun. Yeah, you lost me a tick replay. Oh, you probably don't even have it turned on. Let me show you. So if you look at the screen here, if I go tools, options, market data, and then under historical, there is a checkbox that says show tick replay. If show tick replay is selected, then when you come in here and you look in the data series of a chart, you right click on the chart and you go to data series. Then right at the top in the data series, there is now a new checkbox called tick replay. Okay. What is tick replay? Tick replay uses the historical best bid, best ask data, so that you can then go back and replay all of the orders and what prices they occurred at to try and estimate whether those orders were buy orders or sell orders. So essentially, if you have tick replay turned on, then you can do like cumulative delta and the V-Way and all of these other complicated things. I think even volumetric bars uses it to some extent, right? Although I think that with that one, you have to turn on tick replay. It just works somehow. Right, it's for historical stuff. Yeah, exactly. So if I add a cumulative delta indicator to my chart and I don't have tick replay enabled, then it will show me what the cumulative delta is going forward while I have the application open, but it won't tell me what it was in the past. So but if you have tick replay on, especially on the E-mini, then it takes a while for your E-mini charts to start up. Okay, so that one finally did work out. If I had held 2 ticks risk on the first one, it would have worked as well. So I'm not trying to say that is like a really high probability setup that you could do all the time. I'm just making a contextual read that the treasuries seem to have a strong bid today, right? But it was just kind of showing how you can kind of get a feel for how much is trading at a spot. So I knew, like, we're trending up. Not only are we trending up, but there's a decent amount of volume absorbing on the bid, limit buying. And so I had a pretty good reason to believe that I could put an order in there and hold tight risk. And then just knowing the way that the spreads are and everything, I'm kind of looking for it to hit into a price that it shouldn't be hitting into, is the other part of it. But right, that's how you do it. So you just watch it from here, right? You just watch in the 10-year, which is really the best place to do it, I think. How much does it take for it to tick up and tick down? And after you've watched it for a couple of years, you get a pretty good feeling for how it tends to do things. No problem. I guess the bigger thing is that, like, something that I should share with you if you're just getting into order flow, okay, is that there's like a really big unknown with order flow, and that is, what is the next flood of market data going to be, or market orders rather, right? So there are some situations where you can predict, right? Because you know, like, why they're trading. Like, if you know why they're trading, that's so helpful. That's such an edge, especially if you know why they're trading and not everybody does. Okay, then that can be really, really useful, because then you can make guesses about how much volume is actually going to come in, and is it going to be enough to take out the number of limit orders that are there, and all of this sort of thing, right? If you don't have that, then it's just kind of random. Like, the next flood of volume could be a buy, it could be a sell, and you don't know. And that's why we sat in there in that for a while, right? Because we don't have something like that. We just had a price that we get a pretty good fill. So whether it works out or not is a little iffy, and those I'm usually getting 50% on, okay? But 50% meaning, like, sometimes I just make the bad read. At that time, I think I had the right price and everything. Okay, so that's where I'm saying, like, the primary thing that I want to trade off of is news, generally speaking. And then the next thing is that I want to see a specific inefficiency. I want to see an inefficiency that I can take advantage of through the structure of the market. In that particular instance, by being able to get an easy fill at 06.5. By the way, when we came in here, we were saying, oh, the yen has been under pressure, but the treasuries did not move down. And then here on this move, the treasuries moved up a good 8 ticks, right? But the Japanese yen reversed that entire down move, right? We'd never quite got that. It just slipped through sort of thing, though. So it wasn't one of those kinds of trends. There was a decent amount of absorption in most prices. There was at 05, when we came up and we traded through 05, that one didn't trade a whole lot. Like, look, at 1763 was the last one, and then so it probably ticked up and traded like, 400 first, 500 first, and then it ticked the 1763. So that was the spot that they went through, right? If you trade and chop, you will lose money trading the order book. So it depends on how you're trading it, right? I have to say, there are certain strategies that do really well in this kind of choppy, slow mush, right? Especially these guys that, they take a mean reversion strategy with a really big stop loss. Like, that works great in this kind of action. Okay. This kind of comes back to this whole idea about informed trading. So, like, if people know something, they're going to come in and they're all going to try and buy it, right? And for instance, remember earlier when we saw a little bit of a quick move in the S&P 500, and that was suddenly when I got interested, right? I got interested because a move like that suggests to me that there was informed trading, that people were making that move because they knew something. And that's why it was like all of a sudden so fast. And then I heard on the news squawk the piece of information that it was, and it was like, oh, okay, that's if that's what it was, that was not that important of a thing, right? So the question is, like, what is the threshold? At what point do I say, oh, that was probably informed trading, right? And that's kind of where you have to start working it out. And in this particular case, when I looked at the ZN, I'm looking at it and I don't see like a short-term informed trading per se, but I do see a long-term, right? So we don't know what it is. I'm not exactly sure what it is. I think that what may be going on here is Goldman Sachs came in and said, you know, if the yields rise to like 2.5, then the S&P 500 will be overvalued and you'll have to move down to 3,300, I think it was. But because basically they said, like, here's our target. And then they said, okay, what if all of the things that this was based on didn't happen? What would happen? And it was actually like, oh, it's not so bad. In fact, some of them were actually good. Like if the Biden tax plan fell through, that would like be a net positive for the market in their estimate. Well, the downside wasn't that much. So it's kind of like, why would interest rates need to rise? Right? Like we've come to the target, everything seems fine, and we're probably just going to sit around here. So maybe some of those shorts in the treasuries are going to come off, right? I think that that's kind of what's kind of at play is they're basically saying for markets, all these valuations like the interest rates are just going to stay the same. So we have a move up. So I see enough to make me say on the higher time frame, like there seems like there's some informed trading, right? And I determine that just based off of, okay, we moved up 8 ticks and the volume is higher than average on a relative basis. Right? So now I know that like, okay, so that tells me if I take a trade, I want to be in line with the trend, right? But it's still kind of like, it's still difficult for it to move. So this is still an environment where I could potentially take a trade, right? Because the chances of having like a really strong adverse excursion against me is low right now. If I'm holding like 2 to 4 ticks risk, right? If I had held a 4 tick risk, I could be in this for like an hour, right? Okay. So with all that in mind, what actually makes it a good trade? Well, the thing that actually makes it a good trade is that there's a mispricing, right? So if it sells into a price that it shouldn't because of everything else that I'm seeing in the market, then I want to take it, and that's where you can get like the high win rate in the right kind of situation, right? It's like strong trend, relatively slow action, you know, good fill in a location that suggests inefficiency, right? But that last point is like really, really key, okay? Like to make money in the long run, really you need to be taking advantage of a market inefficiency, because otherwise you're leaving a lot up to luck, right? Like you can make money off of your basically your risk reward ratio to some extent, but like the smaller of a time frame you're trading, the more difficult that becomes, because action on small time frames is really quite random, right? So it's so much better if you know that price is wrong and that it should be up here, right? And there's multiple different ways of determining that, but in a situation like that, I'm not using any past data. I'm just using a bunch of different markets all at the same time and my understanding of what's going on to determine that it shouldn't be trading that price, right? I don't know. I'm trying to give a good explanation of like what sort of things you should pay attention to without like telling people exactly how to trade something. I don't know. By the way, give this a video a like. That would make sure that as many people as possible see the volume weighted average sheet title. There you go. See, I'm trying to, because you don't understand, Plummet. I'm like super paranoid because there are some people that will come in here and like try and troll me over and over and over and over again. So when it's a name that I don't necessarily recognize or are relatively new, I get really suspicious of them at first. until I'm sure, using my tradecraft, that it's not the individuals that cause trouble. 60s. Whoa, wait, what the hell? 67 likes. Oh man, thank you guys. That I don't think that like count is legit, but we're just gonna. I'm not gonna question it. Wood says today's title is really terrific. See, I don't think that's gonna pop up in the Google search results, but like, if I was browsing the front page and I saw that title, I'd be like, oh, I gotta see what this is. What is the volume weighted average Yeet? It was like, oh man. I'm actually pretty happy with how like, oh, did I take one? Oh yeah. Oh, I missed that. Oh, okay. Jay took a trade, but he lost. So that's what that one is right there. That's unfortunate. But we took the one in the ZN. I didn't mean to take it on 2 contracts, by the way. But it just kind of worked out that way. So I said, okay, fine. So the next one I did 2 contracts too, but I spread it out a little bit because of how it was acting in that area. Because I was still pretty sure that it was going to move up, right? Just needed a little bit more room. So I'm pretty happy about that one. And then the MES, like, I don't know. Like, should I really be celebrating about that one? Well, I mean, I got the call right. It was hardly any adverse excursion. And in the long run, it did move up further. So Stickball says, I found you through recommended channels. Yeah. No one uses search anymore. Well, I get a lot of views from search, actually. I have to say, if you're building a new YouTube channel, the best way to grow that YouTube channel is to find what kind of keywords in the area of your expertise that people search for, and making videos that focus on those keywords. And that's going to give you that's how we got to 6K. It really is. But to really get big, like these channels that have more than me, and I'm sitting here like, how does this guy get so many if he has a strategy that has a negative Sharpe ratio? There are really that many people listening to him? Well, because he had done something that was able to get it into the recommended feeds. So I remember telling you when you said, I'm glad YouTube's still yeah, that's right. I do remember that, Stick. Well, because we've had periods where, like, we were hidden from the live stream was hidden from search, for instance. Like it just happens sometimes. That's just YouTube, I've decided. But anyway, oh geez, now the number is so big I can't even see what it is. Well, guys, thank you, thank you very much. I gotta get going now. It is time for me to move on. But hey, I don't know. You think that the treasury? I'm interested to see where the treasury closes on the pit close today, because oh yeah, that's right. Win found me because it was live streaming during the debates, which is funny because I don't really do those live streams anymore because it's funny. Like I gotta tell you, so many times I've found things where it was like, you know what, it didn't make sense to do that thing. Like there really was the effort that was involved in it. Didn't really get a lot of subscribers, but then it was like the one subscriber that we did get from it, it mattered. So who's to say? Okay. Oh man, this sucks that Jay lost today. It's been a while since you've taken a loser putt. And when you look at it, it was a really bad trade, actually. Like I think that he actually had an okay short there, but yeah, what didn't it went against him almost immediately. He didn't get any favorable ticks on that one, so yeah, it is pretty funny. somebody is, yeah. I'm not going to question it. Listen, YouTube, I have no clue what's going on. That is crazy. Okay. I got to get going. See you tomorrow. Stay profitable, friends.